Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
After 20 years of service, the Metro Blue Line is ready for essential improvements. A multi-year transformation is on the way, bringing a better, smoother Blue Line experience. Renew the Blue will preserve and protect a critical piece of our infrastructure investment, helping it remain a safe, reliable, and affordable transit option for many years to come. Learn more about Renew the Blue at metrotransit.org/renew-the-blue. Metro Transit, Renew the Blue.
Four Sisters Farmers Market is more than a place to shop for delicious organic food. It's a celebration of Indigenous culture, food sovereignty, and community. Now in its 11th season, the market offers healthy, affordable, culturally appropriate local foods every Thursday from 11 to 3. Located on the American Indian Cultural Corridor off Franklin Avenue, Four Sisters Farmers Market is a project of NAGD. Every Thursday now through October, discover more about Four Sisters Farmers Market by visiting nagd.org. Hey, this is Robert Pilot. The Minnesota State Fair is more than food on a stick. It's a chance to celebrate Native culture and voices. On August 25th, hear the Red Lake Singers and Emizaska Drum Group during Mental Health Awareness at Dan Patch Park. On August 27th, meet Native authors like Roxanne B2B Nokwe Gold and Stacy Lola Druyard, and visit the Common Table and learn how Indigenous foodways are shaping Minnesota's future. Get your State Fair tickets now at mnstatefair.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with patchy fog and a low of 70. Then Thursday, partly sunny with a high of 86. Chef Carrie's always cooking up something new and exciting at Nightingale in South Minneapolis on the corner of 26th and Lyndale. Open late with the kitchen available until midnight. Visit nightingalempls.com to learn more.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news events. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, we are blessed to have Minnesota State Representative Heather Keeler on again, and really good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Native Roots Radio.
Thanks. It feels like we're maybe getting back into a little bit of a routine to have like ongoing conversations. And so it's good to be back.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I know things are tough all around here, and I always like what you have to say, and I try to ask a lot of my guests, especially when they're like you, or they're boots on the ground, making decisions, living with this 24/7. How are you taking care of yourself mentally and physically and spiritually?
I actually love that we talk about this because I do think it's something in society that people just don't feel comfortable talking about, or like I kind of say often, we ask each other like, how are you? And the response we expect from people is, I'm fine, I'm good. And when you say like, I'm struggling, or I'm just not okay, or I'm not pulling it together, to be honest, this morning I was just feeling like I don't really want to adult today, and it's like being able to be honest with how we're feeling or the struggles that we're carrying while we're still doing the work, I think is hard. And so I appreciate that you bring light to this. So it's mental health is something that's really interesting for me because I have struggled with finding the right resources for what I need for my own holistic health is sort of how I look at it, not just my mental health, but my emotional, my spiritual, my mental, my physical, all of that, really matters to us. So like the personal journey has been difficult. But because I feel like I do this legislative and official work to kind of heal the younger version of who I was, or the struggles I've seen the people I love go through, I also lean into the mental health work a lot on the official side. Serving as the vice chair of human services, sitting on the health committee, making sure that I advocate for 988 services. So we have suicide prevention hotlines. In my community out in Clay County, we're working on a psychiatric residential treatment facility so that kids in Minnesota aren't shipped out of state to states like Arkansas for supports for our kids or being housed in juvenile detention centers. And so the work is really ramping up in addressing mental health. And I think the reality of that is then my personal ability to take care of myself is reduced. And so I think you asking me is like an accountability check. And hopefully for our listeners too, that, we have to find time to even pause for ourselves. I just had an interview with our local news today and they were like, well, what advice do you have for people? And I say it every time, drink water. Like
Yeah.
hydration is the key.
State representative, I was thinking as you were talking, I try and bring that up to a lot of our boots on the ground things, but I believe it was from our original conversations years ago that I did put that in my questions with you and you talking about how important that is for you and not just drinking water, but really taking care of your soul. And I want to say thank you. That's a big peeny. I was just thinking about that as you were talking.
Yeah. So I think like a little bit of me wants to ask you that question back because I think are a stellar leader for the community. You talk a lot about you created this space to speak our truth. And sometimes when we speak our truth, that's really hard. So as a friend, back to you, what do you do to take care of your holistic and mental health?
Well, spiritually, I put out some tobacco and smudge off daily. I go for a walk. I attend a 12-step group once or twice a week. And I really try to be truthful with myself and people around me, which, if you knew the younger self of me, that wasn't the case. So I really the first step in the 12-step program that I'm involved with is the spiritual principles honesty. So if I could be honest with people around me and honest with myself, then I'm pretty spiritually fit, and that I can look at myself in the mirror but physical stuff too, walking and being out and trying to do the barefoot thing on the grass, go out on our boat, go to New York, and hang out with my wife and our grandbabies every Wednesday and Thursday and our dog and try not to sweat the small stuff because it's all small unless you're passing away or something. So I have to, and one of the things too, I'm just going to end with this is my mantra has been for many years, would I rather be right or would I rather be happy? And so that really helps out with a lot of things that I
Wow.
work with and deal with because I loved and still can get into that justifiable anger. I love justifiable anger. So I got to put anger's anger. I've realized after all these years.
I love that. So what is that again? You would
Which one?
rather,
Oh, would I rather be right or would I rather be happy?
man, that's a good question. I think one of the pieces of advice my dad used to always give me that I feel like, when he told me as a young kid, I was like, yeah, whatever, dad. Like I don't understand. Right. But now as an adult, there's things that really make sense. And it's just the simple understanding that the only person I can control is myself and the response that I have to a situation. Like we can be really mad at what other people did or what other people, are continuing to do, but we only have so much energy in our life. And it really feels like, not sweating the small stuff or really being engaged with how we can respond in the world. I also really try to lean into that because my dad's words are just so real in that way. So wait, your grandbabies, did they just celebrate a birthday?
Yeah, they just became 1 year old, and it's been a beautiful experience. They're getting to start to walk. They're doing things that I just I'm totally amazed at these little people. And speaking of people, my Hinu's jumping on here too with us here. She had to help out her sister with bringing the babies back, but I thought it was very important that she take care of business. And we only got a couple minutes here, but I love my daughters and I love my grandbabies, and yeah, and and there is my Hinu Jalisa. How's it going? Hey, we were just talking about our mental health and health and what we do to take care of ourselves. And I know your boots on the ground too. And maybe next segment you can jump in and talk about, because your work is really intensely working with other people too, and you have to protect your soul too. So we can have a really good conversation, State Representative.
I think too, it's interesting that not only like healing for ourselves, but like I made a post the other day about this deep craving to invest in Indigenous sistership and sisterhood, and like how do we build this space together that we know how to show up for each other, because we just don't see a lot of us out in the world, whether it's showing up to watch the play, and like going hard on all that and laughing at the Native comedy, that's so real in our life, or supporting us as we make, these legislative changes. And so it is about like not only showing up for ourselves, but then really leaning in and showing up, for each other, because we're such community driven people. And so I think the more to this party and the better the conversation it gets.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and here with Minnesota State Representative Heather Keeler, and my Hinu, Jalisa McKee. And we'll be right back after this short break. We're talking mental health and how that all adds up to your life. And Jalisa, I think we're going to ask you how you take care of yourself at
Awesome.
the next portion. This is Native Roots Radio.
Stay with us.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. Native culture is alive and thriving at the Minnesota State Fair. The Native Roots Trading Post is back at the West End Market, where you can support Indigenous artists and makers. And don't miss the Native Pride dancers performing on the Summit stage at the Bazaar August 31st and September 1st. From music and art to food and storytelling, Native culture is everywhere at the State Fair. Tickets are just $17 through August 20th at mnstatefair.org. Four Sisters Farmers Market is more than a place to shop for delicious organic food. It's a celebration of Indigenous culture, food sovereignty, and community. Now in its 11th season, the market offers healthy, affordable, culturally appropriate local foods every Thursday from 11 to 3. Located on the American Indian Cultural Corridor off Franklin Avenue, Four Sisters Farmers Market is a project of NAGD. Every Thursday now through October, discover more about Four Sisters Farmers Market by visiting nagd.org.
After 20 years of service, the Metro Blue line is ready for essential improvements. A multi-year transformation is on the way, bringing a better, smoother Blue line experience. Renew the Blue will preserve and protect a critical piece of our infrastructure investment, helping it remain a safe, reliable, and affordable transit option for many years to come. Learn more about Renew the Blue at metrotransit.org/renew-the-blue. Metro Transit, Renew the Blue.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Oh, this is Dallas Goldtooth, and you're listening to the Native Roots Radio. Hoka, hicha, wecha.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awakened. This is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Right on. Hey, we are here with Minnesota State Representative Heather Keeler, because we're all over the country here. We are on quite a few stations in Wisconsin. And up next, we're going to have Christy Goforth, who is just a doer herself. And I'm excited to have her on with her bike organization about giving free bikes out. But hey, Heather, let's ask Jalisa the same question that you posed to me and I posed to yourself.
Yeah, I feel like it's an accountability check-in, right? With just making sure that how do you take care of yourself, right? I feel like no matter what lane of life we're in, we're all like carrying different stresses. And I was saying earlier before you jumped on that in society, sometimes it's kind of looked down upon for us to just not be in a great mood or not be having a great day. And so we're just kind of sharing some tips and tricks and things that we do to protect our own mental health and just our holistic health in general.
Absolutely. I would say so. I mean, it's really awesome that I get to do work in group therapy that absolutely reminds me on a daily basis of what to do, even for myself, because, we want to practice what we preach, right? So, I remind my clients every day, there's a reason why we check in the morning. We all start a group session at 9:00. We end at 12:45. And the way we typically, we usually do Wordle. So shout out to that for that little brain teaser, New York Times. A lot of people are on that these days. But then we go into how are we feeling? How are we feeling physically in this moment? How are we feeling mentally, spiritually? All of those things. And, I remind my clients, we're not just doing this to fill time. We're doing this to create a pattern of when we start our day, check in with your emotional capacity, check in with your physical capacity. Our best, I do a lot of the 4 agreements, teachings, and our best is going to vary day to day, right? Based on, did we sleep well? Do we have any fatigue? Do we have any health concerns? And then also, where are we at mentally? I was just talking to my friend the other day, shout out to Nina, but, when we're each having a hard time as friendships or as family members, we're able to have emotional, check in with our emotional capacity of how we can show up for one another. Some days I'll have more of that and be able to pour into others. Some days I'm going to need to lean on someone. So to know when we need to ask for help and ask for that emotional support. And then also to say, wow, I'm feeling really in my gratitude today. I'm feeling emotionally stable, and I have a lot to be able to pour into other people. So kind of knowing our own needs and then also knowing what capacity we have to give to others, I think is really just how the world goes round.
Wow. Heck, am I proud of my daughter? And she didn't learn any of that from me. I just want to tell you that.
Wow. It's all from her mom's side, right? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well, and
I think you're so right, though. It's so important to name your feeling, right? I think often we grow up with am I mad? Am I sad? Am I happy? And there's just so many other complex feelings that we have, and really being able to sit with yourself. And I agree, just going through the checklist of what am I carrying? How have I taken care of myself? Like Maslow's laws, right? Where are we? But naming it is so important, and setting the boundary. Sometimes setting boundaries with people that you love to protect yourself is just so hard to do, because I'm sort of a people pleaser. And so if I set a boundary and it offended you, I'm like, whoa, wait, maybe I could change it a little bit. And the truth is we just need to live in a world that we speak our boundaries and then receive other people's boundaries too, when they have the courage to say them.
Yeah. And people think boundaries is such a huge topic. They think that boundaries are what, creates a divide, when actually it's the opposite. Boundaries are what makes
us clear on how to connect further. Because when we have boundaries, we know how to treat one another. How am I supposed to know, this is my Jaji's boundary of doing this way?
My
How can we
chips.
connect
Don't
more?
mess with my potato chips.
Yeah, right. How can I show up and respect Jaji's potato chips and know that is his thing? If you take the last chip, no. But seriously, you can make those examples in those little tangible ways, and then carry that throughout. But yeah, boundaries are really to connect us further, because then we know how to show up for one another.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
I also want to say too that my own self-care is really reliant on just really loving myself. And I tell my clients this all the time, and it's been such a journey for me in my 30s. It wasn't as easy in my, youth and then in my 20s, but that the more we know ourselves, the more we can love ourselves. How do we love ourselves if we don't even know ourselves, right? So to do all these practices of really getting to know what are our tendencies, what's come up because of our past traumas, what triggers us, what do we want to work on in terms of like coping skills. So like, yeah, I always say like, yes, self-care, but also self-awareness. And then that way we're able to love ourselves.
That's so real. I think that's why, Robert, you and I have talked about sobriety. I feel like I'm new in that journey. You've been down that path, and, you are really somebody that I look up to in that. And I think when you talk about knowing ourselves, like it's a whole different version of yourself when you walk through the pain and the rawness of life in sobriety. And so that's been really a big deal for me too. And it's interesting because when I work as a legislator, I get to talk to a lot of my constituents, and I actually learn so much from them. And it was one of my constituents who we worked deep in the weeds around ending homelessness. And he was walking his journey of sobriety. And he said to me that sobriety was the key to unlocking healthy mental health. And I was like, it's like that simple. My self-worth is different now. I agree with you. My self-love, my self-acceptance, the ability to forgive the younger version of myself for things that happened to me. In sobriety has just been so different. And so I think that is a really, not for everybody, but it's been a really good path for me.
Well, and I like to jump in too about sobriety. The journey is the reward. And that's, if you don't have to look at how far you have to go, look at how far you've come. And so that's always hard to do in life, because you're living, sometimes second to second in situations and moment to moment. But, if I would have predicted 40 years ago where I'd be today and being sober, I would have underestimated myself so much.
Right.
And the journey is the reward,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I really try to say to myself, remember the time that you wanted what you have now, and to have that reflective moment of gratitude, right? Because 10 years ago, I didn't think I would be doing what I'm doing now. And like you said, Judge, and, and then also to know too, that the desires of our heart are there to motivate us. They're not there to shame us or put us down. Oh, comparison, those type of things. It's like, no, utilize that. Like, okay, I have a desire to do, work on my physical health, or work on, things like that. That's put on our heart for a reason, to drive us forward, not to shame us at where we're at.
I just want to say one thing too. When we were talking about boundaries, there's people in my life now that I choose not to be in my life because of my healthier boundaries.
Right.
I don't try to fix people. I don't try to change their mind. I live in my own truth, and if that's not good enough, I move on, because there's other places where I need to focus, whether it's really directly with my grandkids, my daughters, my wife, especially my wife, because that Wendy makes the world go around for me. Yeah.
We all know that too. I mean, like, just in case the rest of the world needs to know, we all know that Wendy makes your whole world go round.
Oh, yes. Shout out to Wendy.
Shout out to Wendy for sure. Yeah. Well, we got a minute left here before we get Christy, our friend Christy from from Wisconsin, we're on, 20 other stations in Wisconsin. So it's always good to touch base with our relatives and our neighbors out there and talk a little bit about her bikes, but also talk a little politics. So, Heather, you got a minute here. What else how would you want to end this today? I feel like we're in a little
Prepare
mini
yourself.
session,
I
too.
mean, honestly, I feel like that's been the theme of the conversations that we've had. I think we've shared some really good suggestions by like sharing our own personal journeys. And I think make space for that in your own life. Like frontal lobe is real. Dehydration does make our emotional response different. So I think that drinking water in this time is really important. But really leaning into community and being intentional about doing that. I think isolation can create really hard times, and being intentional about finding people that you can connect with as you find the courage to do that, I think is really important. So thanks for having me. Thanks for having
I've
this
been
really
really
critical
wanting to
conversation.
do. Yes, thank you, Peanut Gigi. I've been really wanting to do a women's native meetup, so we should talk, Heather.
Yes, I'm down. Let's do it.
Well, and too, this was really good too. So now I feel even more blessed that I can go on vacation, and Heather, you can be the co-host, and Jalisa and you would have a great conversation on whatever you want to talk about. So
There we
it's
go.
exciting.
Yay.
Yeah, we don't need you here, Robert. We got this under control.
Exactly. I do know that. I've listened to the show when you've been co-hosting, and I go, geez, she doesn't really need me, does she? But yeah, looking forward to that, Heather. Minnesota State Representative Heather Keeler, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll probably see you in a couple of weeks, right?
Yep, every 2 weeks now, hopefully.
Right on.
Awesome.
Hey, it's Native Roots Radio. Christy Goforth is up next, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
You can't have too much pride, and Fargo Moorhead Pride is proving it again this year, August 8th through 11th. It's one of the region's largest pride celebrations, drawing people from across Minnesota, the Dakotas, and even Canada. Just a little over 3 hours from the Twin Cities, you'll find 4 days packed with celebration, community, and fun at Fargo Moorhead Pride. It all kicks off Thursday, August 8th with a family fun night, trivia, and a karaoke party. Then Friday features an all-ages drag show and a high-energy dance party. Saturday brings a 5K fun run, patio palooza, and the big Pride Block party. And on Sunday, everything wraps up with an interfaith service and the Pride Parade through downtown Fargo. Pride in the Park is one of the weekend's biggest events, offering food trucks, community vendors, and live entertainment everyone can enjoy. Make the road trip and show your pride at Fargo Moorhead Pride, August 8th through the 11th. Full schedule and details at fmpride.com.
Hey, it's Mitch, owner of Junk Masters, your local independently owned junk removal team. We are not a franchise, and that means personalized service you can count on. Spring's the season for cleaning out the things you're ready to let go of. Whether it's one item or a full property cleanout, we handle it all, residential or commercial. You just show us what goes. With same-day service, upfront, no-obligation pricing, and a landfill diversion program that prioritizes donating, recycling, and reuse. Visit junkmastersmn.com to learn more.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. Native culture is alive and thriving at the Minnesota State Fair. The Native Roots Trading Post is back at the West End Market, where you can support Indigenous artists and makers. And don't miss the Native Pride dancers performing on the Summit stage at the Bazaar August 31st and September 1st. From music and art to food and storytelling, Native culture is everywhere at the State Fair. Tickets are just $17 through August 20th at mnstatefair.org.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with patchy fog and a low of 70. Then Thursday, partly sunny with a high of 86. Chef Carrie's always cooking up something new and exciting at Nightingale in South Minneapolis on the corner of 26th and Lyndale. Open late with the kitchen available until midnight. Visit nightingalempls.com to learn more.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Anine, I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACD, in Minneapolis.
Hey, we have our friend Christy Goforth, Executive Director of Bikes for Kids on. It's great to see you again. Kind of got a little echo. Is that you by any chance?
An echo? Is there an echo?
No, it isn't. But it was funny that is there. It's
Good.
Funny you said, "Is there an echo? Is there an echo twice?" And that was kind of like an
echo. I had my
exactly
panic moment there. Like, what would I even do to solve that? I don't know. I'm glad it's
well.
not there.
Hey, great to see you. Lot going on, but that's. I know there was a new article about riding bikes, but before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about Bikes for Kids, and so people that are just listening in for the first time with you on know about your organization.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And Jalisa, is it Jalisa?
Yes.
Yes. Wonderful to meet you. I've not met you before, so thanks again for having me. Yes.
That's my daughter. So nepotism is running rampant here on Native Roots Radio.
Well, I can see the resemblance, and I really enjoyed that last conversation, and it was great. So thank you for that. You gave some great advice.
Thank you. Great to meet you.
Yeah, you as well. So I run Bikes for Wisconsin. We're the largest bike center in the state, and we're creating access to bicycles for people who really have never had the opportunity or who can really struggle with the price of bicycles. Bicycles are expensive. And there's been a lot of people who've been left behind by the cycling industry. It's been very exclusive for a long time. And so we're working to really kind of right that ship and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to own a bicycle, because not only is it fun, riding a bike can be very fun, but it's transportation, it's mobility, it's access to opportunities, it's low cost, and it's good for us, not only physically, but mentally.
Yeah, and what areas do you serve? Because I know these answers, so let our audience know.
Yeah, well, we're based here in Madison, Wisconsin, but and so primarily we're serving Dane County, which Dane County is really a pretty economically resilient place because we're the state capital and we have a lot of government entities. We have the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So we really branched out a couple years ago to serve more of the kind of persistent poverty pockets in the state. And so that would be like Milwaukee, Racine, Rusk County, which is the poorest county in the state, where I'm excited, where we've really partnered with the Great Lakes Intertribal Council. So definitely are hitting our red brothers and sisters north. And so we actually are serving 10 counties pretty regularly. We're getting into the season where organizations apply for bicycles. So it's not easy. Working in transportation equity is complicated. And, if you think about, like, imagine you were giving away cars, right? Like, complicated process. And bikes are even more so because they have to be sized to their riders. And so the way we operate is we have other 501c3 nonprofits who are serving financially challenged individuals and public schools who apply for bicycles. So I often say we don't give bikes to individuals, we give them to organizations, because we're giving away about 2,000 to 2,500 bikes a year. And I don't want to be responsible for vetting each of those individuals. That would be insurmountable. But these organizations, so like the social workers at the schools, they know the people most in need and the kids maybe that are being truant because they don't have a way to get to school. There's not busing. Their parents might already be at work. Their parents might not have cars. And so they select our recipients and register them for us. So yeah, we've given away 13,900 bicycles now. So if you try to think of like, it's staggering, because if you think of 100 people on bicycles, it looks like an ocean, right? And to even pick 13,900, it's not even really, it's almost like when you look at the Grand Canyon, you can't process it. You can't take it in. You're kind of like, wow, but you can't even fathom the depth of that.
Well, Christy, being a native person, and I know over the years you've reached out to tribes, and you mentioned a little bit about that in the beginning. What kind of focus do you have on our relatives?
Well, it started with me popping in over at Lac du Flambeau in up north Wisconsin, and I actually was going to the Ojibwe market, which I love the Ojibwe market there, and I was driving through, and I just noticed no bicycles. I saw one guy on a bike, and honestly, it was kind of a junker, and I was like, oh, and I saw kids sitting on the curbs, like, just throwing rocks, nothing to do. This was summer. And so I went over to the office, and I had my Bikes for Kids shirt on. And I said, this lovely woman comes out, and she's like, can I help you? Because I was just looking for like a business card. I was going to reach out. I didn't want to bother anyone. And I'm a people pleaser. And so she says, I tell her what I'm doing. And I'm like, I have a feeling you need some bikes up here. And she's like, we would love some bikes. And so we've really had a pretty consistent relationship with them. And that's what started. And she connected us to the Great Lakes Intertribal Council. And we have a bike bus. And so this summer we took a load up to Lac du Flambeau and gave them bikes. But it's just such a good thing for people. Getting out on your bikes, like for me, the stress relief of it, I feel the wind in my hair, and it's like the stress is flying off my shoulders. I'm doing kind of a moving meditation, and I think about that. I'm intentional about
wind therapy.
Yes, and I'm letting it go, and I sometimes think about putting it in the river and letting it flow past. But this is my wind therapy, and so we're going to keep working at it. It's not easy work, and it because of our system, we require someone to register these folks, and that means they have to know the height of every individual and a gender preference. Because when we're dealing with tiny kids, we've got princess bikes, we've got Darth Vader bikes, we've got Stormtrooper bikes, and so. But we do give bikes to all people because bikes are transportation, and transportation is a key determinant in health, and it's really how we kind of can economically empower ourselves. It's one of our ways.
Christy, how can people support you? How can people support? Well, we should have had Christy on the first segment with State Representative Heather Keeler talking about wind therapy. But how do people support you and get to find out more about you? Because I enjoy your TikToks. It's like, oh my God, there's a million bikes in that.
Yeah, there's it's just, I talk about, like, we have the Indian Ocean of bikes, we have the Atlantic Ocean, and we have the Pacific. But Bikes for Kids, WI.org is our website. So there's a plethora of information there. Our YouTube channel is really active, and we do a Giving Tuesday telethon, which is live streamed on YouTube from the bike shop. And I'll sometimes give you a peek of the thousands of bikes sitting behind me that need to be worked on and all tuned up. And it's thousands of hours of work there. But our socials are pretty active as well. So yeah, those are good spots.
That's awesome. All right. Before I have my Hinu ask you a question, I wanted to bring up there's been a report recently about riding your bike. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
Yeah. The Atlantic published an article with data that was recently released from the National Sporting Goods Association that talks about in the 1990s, 20.5 million children biked to school. And in 2023, that reduced to 10 million. And so this is a big conversation that's happening in the bike community. It's also happening in the urban planning community because the obvious focus is infrastructure and streets without bike lanes or dedicated bike paths, which are wonderful because not everyone's comfortable riding on a street where someone's going maybe 40 miles an hour inches from you.
Right.
We do have a state law. I have to mention it. You have to be 3 feet from a bicyclist if you're in a car, and it's on the driver. Like if that bicyclist has to weave around a manhole cover, it is on the driver to maintain that 3-foot distance. So that's really important, and it's a good safety measure. I would like to see that at 4 feet because 3 feet's not very much, especially when you're riding with children. But so I'm seeing a lot of conversations happening, and it's great to talk about infrastructure. But what's not being talked about is the social pieces of these challenges, and so that's what we deal with every day. And another staggering statistic for you is in 2024, 41% of our bike recipients were first-generation bike owners. So this is no one in their immediate family has had a bicycle. So if you've never had a bicycle, no one in your family has had a bicycle. So as a child, a parent or a caregiver might be able to teach you how to ride because it really just requires holding on and running along until you get your balance. But what's not going to happen is you're not going to be going on a ride with that child. You're not going to be teaching them how the transportation network works, the rules of the road, or where to find these networks. You're not, it's the nurture piece that's missing. And I was talking with a woman from the DNR, and she's like, we can only do so much. We can only build these paths and these trails, but we rely on your organization to do all the rest of it. Give away the key resource, which is the bicycle. So creating access to free bicycles. We believe if government was smart, they would just give everyone a bicycle. It would relieve so much pressure on parking and congestion, and the health and wellness factor would be amazing. And, we could all enjoy our streets so much more because, it's a safety in numbers game in a way. But so right now, my 12-year-old son and I, we are regularly riding down to downtown Madison because I'm teaching him how to navigate our downtown, which we have State Street, which is a pedestrian mall, which has its own challenges. Pedestrians walking in front of you, and they don't think about a bicycle coming down there. And so, being polite and ringing your bell, and there's also ringing your bell aggressively and not aggressively. But really just teaching him the rules of the road and showing him the access to these networks. And so that's one of the things that's really interesting is you have to have an adult or an older sibling to be nurturing you, because just riding on your street over and over gets boring really quick for a kid because there's a lot of competing interests for their entertainment. And so, yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Chrissy, can you hold on for another segment, and maybe we can talk a little bit about our mental health still? I really enjoyed what you had to say, and what's going on politically. I know I enjoy what you have to say on our social media, and maybe we can touch on that.
Okay.
We're here with Christy Goforth, Executive Director of Bikes for Kids Wisconsin, and Jalisa McKee, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. Native culture is alive and thriving at the Minnesota State Fair. The Native Roots Trading Post is back at the West End Market, where you can support Indigenous artists and makers. And don't miss the Native Pride dancers performing on the Summit stage at the Bazaar August 31st and September 1st. From music and art to food and storytelling, Native culture is everywhere at the State Fair. Tickets are just $17 through August 20th at mnstatefair.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis Air. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis Air dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune into Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
After 20 years of service, the Metro Blue Line is ready for essential improvements. A multi-year transformation is on the way, bringing a better, smoother Blue Line experience. Renew the Blue will preserve and protect a critical piece of our infrastructure investment, helping it remain a safe, reliable, and affordable transit option for many years to come. Learn more about Renew the Blue at metrotransit.org/renew-the-blue. Metro Transit, Renew the Blue.
Four Sisters Farmers Market is more than a place to shop for delicious organic food. It's a celebration of Indigenous culture, food sovereignty, and community. Now in its 11th season, the market offers healthy, affordable, culturally appropriate local foods every Thursday from 11 to 3. Located on the American Indian Cultural Corridor off Franklin Avenue, Four Sisters Farmers Market is a project of NACD. Every Thursday now through October, discover more about Four Sisters Farmers Market by visiting nacd.org. Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is supported by, or we'd like to bring awareness to, our Minnesota wolf population. Say no to the hunts.
We always want to talk about our Wisconsin wolves too, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
All the wolves.
Hey, good. Hey, we're here with Christy Goforth, Executive Director of Bikes for Kids. And I always say this when you're on, is that I love Madison, Wisconsin. And I'm old enough to remember when cars drove on State Street.
Yeah.
So that was a long time ago.
There's a supporter of ours, and she was like the first woman bicyclist in Madison, and the cops used to stop her if she rode her bicycle on State Street. And she was a journalist, and she had to get her rolls of film to the post office very quickly so they could be developed. And so they made an agreement, and they let her ride on the sidewalk. Like, that is backwards. Wow.
Yeah, back in the day.
We've made a lot of progress, but there's a lot of progress to go, no doubt about it.
Well, let's talk a little bit, and with things going on politically here, it's so hard to keep your head above water in a lot of things. And I know you think hard, you feel hard. Jalisa feels hard. Wendy, my wife, feels hard. I do. So we can maybe go back into what we were talking about the first two segments. Christy, what do you do to take care of your health and your spiritual and physical and emotional needs?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely being in nature. And I've done a lot of bike riding. I think I'm at about 500 miles this summer right now. So
Wow.
and in the bike community, I just talked to a guy who was 75 years old. I ran into him on the bike trail. Not literally ran into him, but we ended up stopping and having a break at the same spot. And he told me he does 4,000 miles a year. I was like, wow, okay, you're way ahead of me. So, but the biking is great. I love hiking and just, finding water. I just got up to the big water. I was just up in Adland and up at Bad River.
wow.
And yeah, it was wonderful. And so that's really big for me. And I'm about to have my 54th trip around the sun here in just a few weeks. And I always find that's a time really to do some introspection and try to, do some personal growth. And one of the things I realized in my life this summer is that I didn't realize there was a term for it, but I was a parentified child. Have you heard about that? Where the child is the parent.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like the effect that that's had on me as an adult.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mom has some mental health challenges and became homeless this summer, and so just dealing with that. And she moved in with me, and it was really, a lot of opportunity for growth. We'll put it at that. But yeah. So realizing parentified children often can't relax. We're always the boss. We always have to take the reins. We always have to take the lead. And, that gets annoying for other people. And, and so, so I'm taking a class on that right now and really just trying to find the time that I can to focus on myself and do some work on that,
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
just
a hard
having
one.
the knowledge and the awareness of it and a label. Actually, that's a time when a label really is helpful for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow,
Absolutely.
that's really interesting. What you just said there at the end, that a label is very helpful for me.
Yeah, to name it, right? And to recognize what
Yes.
the how do I say this? Just like the family roles that really deeply affect us,
Yeah.
right? And our childhood wounds stick with us and stay with us if you're doing those things now, even as an adult, parenting your own parent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And having that label then opens a new world for you when you're on the Google and you're starting to research it, right? Now you're not alone, but you didn't maybe have a name for it, and now it's just the rabbit holes are everywhere, and I can really start kind of finding some classes or finding spaces where I can talk with others about that.
Well, and I think too, just talking about it, you mentioned it now, really helps not only you owning it, but also of partially who you are, and you can forgive yourself too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the recognition and just the acknowledgement. The owning it is big, and just really just learning about the effects of that on my life. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what one of our listeners put up there? She said, "I would love to know more about that. Had the same relationship with her mom."
Yes, we are not alone.
You're helping others.
Yes. And that is one of the traits that comes of it, is you always having to help others. And look at the role I'm in right now, right? But I am helping people who were like me as a child. I would have been a Bikes for Kids recipient. I was raised by a single mom. We never rose above the poverty level. She always worked 3 jobs. And I had to take on a lot of responsibility. But yeah, look that up. Google that. What was her name?
Danita.
Danita. Look that up, Danita. I'm doing a class with Daily Ohm, and it's a parentified parents or parentified children. And it's kind of, you do these classes on an as needed basis. And I actually love the payment fee is pay what you can. So it's very accessible. 9 classes, I believe, and a lot of journaling in it, meditation, and I bring in some of my own cultural practices into that to make it right for me.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And Danita said, "I will. Thank you." And that's one of the things that we love doing here at Native Roots Radio. Is we were talking during the break, my Hinu and I, Jalisa, and we were just saying we learn so much on this show too. What's going on in community, but also just what's going on.
You get exposed to all these different things. It's going to be quite amazing and wonderful. And how do you remember it all, right?
That's how do I remember that all. So how is your organization, if so, being affected by what's happening federally?
We are in this very interesting space. We've never received federal funding. We did come close once. I applied for a transportation grant under Pete Buttigieg, and we came very close. He sent thank you notes to all of the people who wrote support letters, and I thought we were going to get it. It was a minimum of $5 million ask, and we were going to build our forever home. We're in a temporary workspace that's planned to be torn down. So our future is, I feel like I'm on the lake on, when it's all ice chunks and you're just kind of trying to balance and hope you can maintain. So that's our big challenge for our future. But we had to find our own way. We had to make our own way. We've never really received any government funding. And we're in this very unusual space as a nonprofit where we have a valuable product. So as of last year, we decided to start selling used bicycles at a very low cost, but it has really helped us to have that revenue stream.
Hey, Christy, can you, we got like 10 seconds left. Can you give your website and how people can find out more information about Bikes for Kids in Wisconsin?
Yes, absolutely. Look us up at bikesforkidswi.org, and always on our YouTube, our Facebook, our Instagram. Those are pretty popular. But we'd love to hear from you, and subscribe to our newsletter. If you scroll to the bottom of any page on our website, you can enter your newsletter or your email address. We won't spam you, I promise.
Hey, thank you so much for being on, and we got to make this happen more often. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're wonderful. Thank you, Pinky.
Hey, Native Roots Radio. Hey, Native Roots Radio. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Robert Pilot from